And by the way, the next time somebody tells you, well, I kind of like what Ron Paul says, but, he won't be elected and I don't want to waste my vote. You tell them, listen, jerk, if you'd actually vote for him, and then if all those people who said, well, I like what he says, but he's unelectable, would actually vote for him, he'd probably get elected.
Well, that's that mind game that we're going to say who you can vote for.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, and here's the whole thing. Everyone who's listening to this, you've got to take it on yourself. You can't just count on Alex to take care of everything. You can't count on me. You can't count on anybody. You can only count on yourself. And what do? You've got to wake your fellow citizens up. And I don't mean preaching to them, because that's not going to do any good. But start asking them questions and just get them to thinking, and just say, like, I mentioned, I think, in the last quarter, say, wait a minute, if we're supposed to be so afraid of this international terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, that is trying to slip weapons of mass destruction into our country and is so evil, then how come they haven't done one solid thing to secure the border? Get them thinking about that. Wait a minute, well, why haven't they? And that's because, let me tell you, folks, this is where the New World Order has kind of tripped up themselves. They don't want a secure border. They want open borders so they can flood this country and dilute the population, get us all conflicted, fighting with each other, so that they can push through their agendas.
That's the balkanization amended plan.
The balkanization of America, absolutely. So they don't want a secure border, and yet they want us all fearful of this international terrorist organization. So wait a minute, you can't have both. If the terrorist organization is real, then we need to secure the border. And if it's not real, then we can talk about loosening up the border. But there's no discussion of that. We're supposed to believe in these two, totally opposite themes. It's ridiculous. Get people to thinking. And ask them about, well, what do you suppose brought down that third tower in New York on 9/11? And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 of them are going to say, what tower? You say, well, the Solomon Brothers building. And they're going to say, what? And then you say, oh, well, you didn't know that another building fell down that afternoon. That's
just search Building 7.
Just go get on the internet, go search Building 7. Get them to think and start waking people up.
Good points. More news, phone call straight ahead. Live from Dallas, Texas, here at the Lakewood Theater. I'm Alex Jones, and this is Infowars.com. Jim Mars is our guest. Jim, you're a best-selling author many times over. Briefly, you weren't asking for a plug, but it's such great writing. Tell folks about a couple of your last books, any new stuff you've got coming out, and tell us about the website before we go to phone calls.
Okay. Well, for those of you who try to talk to your friends and or family and explain what's really going on today, and they go, well, what? How do you know that? Hey, I've never heard of that. You can't prove that. Get my book, The $1 Trillion Conspiracy, a New York Times bestseller, and it tells you what's wrong and why it's wrong, and who's behind it, who's to blame, and what you can do about it. And it's fully documented, so you can go to the website, you can go to the books, and you can say, here's what's going on. Now, for the ones that really want to get advanced and find out, well, what's the big picture, what it's really all about, then I would suggest reading my book, Rule by Secrecy.
Excellent book.
There you go. And that will give you the whole 9 yards.
The whole national security state. We've given the ultra-rich the power to operate in total secrecy with unlimited money. Of course they're running wild.
Exactly. And if you want to pinpoint who...
It'd be like if you left your house with 4 or 5 11-year-olds for a month with like, or teenagers with Jack Daniels and machine guns.
And tell them, don't get in the booze.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to find out really, if you want to really get horrified, then read my New York Times bestseller, The Rise of the Fourth Reich, because that will tell you that yes, we defeated the German military in World War II, and we defeated the German nation, but we didn't defeat the Nazis. In fact, at the signing of the surrender papers, that was the German Wehrmacht, the army. The Nazis were not even represented there. They never gave up. In fact, the same international banksters that had bankrolled Hitler.
The Bilderberg is Nazi.
And exactly, and created the Third Reich. They simply brought them all over here with the help of the CIA, with the paperclip and several other programs, thousands of them, okay, and rolled them into our military-industrial complex.
To head programs from NASA to CIA.
To mind control, to everything. Pharmaceuticals, Why do you think they're putting fluoride in the drinking water?
My son has a children's history book on the Nazis. In fact, I meant to bring it for the speech tonight. He was back in the hotel with my wife. God bless her. She's sick or something tonight. Doesn't feel well. But the point is, in there it says the Nazis would tell people. I got to look this up. I'd never even seen this, but it was like a mainline big scholastic book, the biggest publisher in the world.
Yeah.
They said the Nazis would give people shots saying it was a vaccine. It was really to kill them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you think's going on today? Did you know that about the Nazis?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. Tell us briefly when we go to calls.
Right. Well, they had a program where they were targeting, in the German, it translated to life not worth life, or not worth living. And they would go for people that they considered defective mentally, physically, whatever. And they would, they'd inject them, tell them to give them medicine, and just kill them off.
That's what they're doing to us.
Exactly. Except they learned.
This is in a children's book. I learn stuff every day.
Well,
they said they would say, we're giving you a vaccine, it'd kill them.
And of course, when they sent them to the camps and they'd tell them, strip off, we're going to put you in this little room and we're going to delouse you, And of course, they'd throw in the Cyclone B gas, and see, you don't kill a lot of people at once by telling them we're going to kill you, and they're liable to fight back or something. So it's always for your good.
This film I'm going to premiere tonight. I've been so busy. I just got finished a few days ago. I haven't thought up the right name yet for it to describe it, but it's all about democide, which is in the universities. You're a professor yourself, but that the public doesn't know about it. And democide is death by government. 260+ million last century killed by government.
Well, if you want to go back to the United States government and go back to the Native Americans and come forward to the Philippine insurrection, and then
it'd be even higher.
Just keep going. We've killed more people than Hitler supposedly did. So. I don't know. It's really something. People just need to wake up and get to their senses. We're good people. The United States gives more to charity than all the other nations in the world.
But we're gullible.
Put together. But we're gullible and we're naive.
Because we were the good guys. We think we're perfect now.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. Let's go to phone calls. You ready? Let's go to Sean in Arizona. You're on the air with Jim Mars live in Dallas, Texas. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mr. Mars. Thanks for everything you've done over the past 50 years pertaining to the JFK conspiracy. But what I have to say today is a comment on the flight from Amsterdam to Detroit that Mr. Hassel from Detroit was on. I've been on that flight, and I want to share to you a couple quick facts. First of all, I was over in Germany, and I was told by my German host that when we flew into Amsterdam from Bremen, Germany, not to fiddle around with the Dutch authorities. They had the second toughest airport security in the world behind the Israelis. And they did racially profile me and others individually. It was really something to watch. And one-on-one consultations on a dais, and then they cut you loose. And what I witnessed, and this was in May, Memorial Day weekend of 2003, we had an orange alert at the time. When I was cut loose from the one-to-one consultation with the Dutch authorities, I went around the corner, and every Mid-East looking person, and that meaning Pakistanis, East Indians, Sikhs with headdresses, were all being searched. Everyone. There was no exception. Everybody, even 80-year-old women.
Yeah, it was real security. No. They had naked body scanners at that airport and brought him through. The U.S. government got him the visa. He didn't have the other passport. And that's what Haskell saw, was a guy with high enough authority at the gate, at the secondary check, to say, you will put him on. And then the government admits that was their guy that got him on.
Oh, of course.
But wait. Is that the point you're getting at?
No, wait, Sean, I want to ask you something, because it does sound like that was a very stringent security checkpoint. Did they put their hand down your pants?
This was completely professional. I mean, completely.
No. Here it's about federal government is your God. We're going to have pot bellies grab your child's genitals. Here it's about domination.
Everyone who's listening, this put their hand down your pants, this has nothing to do with security. This has everything to do with making the public passive and accepting of just about anything.
Yeah, exactly. But, sir, to finish your point, so what is your point in the huge security you saw compared to what you just heard with Kurt Haskell with the U.S. government demanding they get this guy on the plane?
Well, the key is this, Alex, and you've already said it. And what the majority of our countrymen don't know, it was impossible for any terrorist to get on the plane without cooperation from our people, because the Dutch were so good that they would have never allowed. That's the whole point here, and I've known it for years, ever since it happened.
It's on record that after the Israelis, they've got the most, including naked body scanners. Listen, the underwear bomber was brought past all the security. That was later confirmed. Well, just like brought right past it all.
Wait. I died 2 months, 1 month after that, there were congressional hearings, and there were people from the intelligence community who testified to Congress under sworn testimony that the State Department was going to decline this guy a visa.
They were ordered to let him in, yeah.
And our intelligence services said, no, let him on.
See, you were driving in, you missed it. I had Haskell on. He said it a month and a half before it was in the news. He saw it happen.
Yeah.
And exactly. No, it was on C-SPAN. Yeah, no, listen, they run look, they're giving Al-Qaeda control of Libya and Syria now.
And
I mean, come on, man.
If you go back to
TSA wants to grope my family. I can't fly, but because of Al-Qaeda, but they give them whole countries.
And and if you'll go back to every single terrorist big story from the Sears Tower in Chicago all the way down, at the thick of it, at the middle of it, you always find some government informant or some government
provocateur. The whole thing.
The whole thing's a scam.
It is. Great call. Listen,
thank you, Sean.
We got like 15 more callers here. We're going to come back, give each caller 1 minute on the other side, final segment, and then Jim's going to give a speech. And Jim's such a sweetheart. He's like, well, I don't want to give too much of the speech. I just want to introduce you. Jim, I'm a fan of you. I want to hear you speak. I want to sit in there with some popcorn. All right. We are back live here. We're talking about gardening boxes. What is this system you're talking about?
Hero garden.
I need to get one.
Yeah, it's a little, you grow your own herbs. You just got a little grow light and you grow.
No, wait a minute. They're shutting down the Amish and shutting down people with lemonade stands. I don't know if you can be trusted with a garden, because you know they're starting to restrict them.
Oh, well,
you have to have
true.
Inspections to make sure there's not drugs, because you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's true. Maybe I better not put any mint in the mint juleps I serve to people.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that.
It hasn't been government approved.
Exactly. Let's race through your calls here. Jeff in Canada, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question for Jim. It's funny you brought up your books. I'm just racing through the end of The Rise of the Fourth Reich, and I wondered if Jim could go over on page 207. He talks about Otto Skorzeny, the Nazis, the Egyptian Gestapo, which is known as the Muslim Brotherhood, how it ties to the CIA director Alan Dulles, Richard Gellin, and how...
Oh, yeah, no. They run... Listen,
Al-Qaeda.
The Nazis, British intel, our government, they run all the Muslim extremists. Go ahead.
Exactly. And that's because they took them over at the end of World War II, because prior to them, the Muslim Brotherhood had been a Nazi-run organization. So, you know, now we got not only fanatical Muslims, but...
Well, the Grand Imam, was an actual Nazi.
Oh, yeah, and a big fan of Adolf Hitler. And, in fact, you know, I had an uncle that served in the Army in North Africa, and he said they had as much trouble with the Muslim Brotherhood as they did with the Nazis. I mean, they were fighting us over there, too. See, nobody gets told about the truth of history. We just get these little sound bites.
But they're the good guys. They're putting them in charge now.
Oh, yeah.
The TSA goes in your pants because they need to put them in charge.
That's right. Exactly. Making us safe. Wait a minute. Come on, folks. Freedom has never been safe, clean,
all right, great pull. Quick 30-second comeback, Jeff.
Well, I just wanted to say, if anybody hasn't read Rise of the Fourth Reich, every page is a jaw-dropper, recommended reading to know what's really going on. I mean, it's just an incredible work of art.
Well, thank you very much.
And unfortunately, I've read so many mainline history books where pieces of it are read. I know your book's accurate.
Right.
Just incredible. Let's go ahead and go to another call here. Let's talk to Brad in Pennsylvania. You're on the air, Brad.
Hey, Alex, thanks a lot. Jim, you guys are just awesome. It's nice to hear you both together.
Thank you.
I think you should get him on the show more often, Alex, because I know you have fun with him, and I'd love to hear you with your dad on there again on the show, because that was a great interplay. Your dad's
well, he looks just like him. I think it'd be his body double.
Maybe
in fact, actually, Jim is my dad. Let's start a new conspiracy theory.
Me and his dad are going to hire out his bookends.
I'm sorry,
hey, great. Good luck tonight with the show. And I'm a Prison Planet TV member. I love to see that stuff live if you guys could do it, but I'm sure you'll probably replay it. But best of luck to you tonight.
Be so afraid of this international terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, that is trying to slip weapons of mass destruction into our country and is so evil, then how come they haven't done one solid thing to secure the border? Get them thinking about that. Wait a minute. Well, why haven't they? And that's because, let me tell you, folks, this is where the New World Order has kind of tripped up themselves. They don't want a secure border. They want open borders so they can flood this. But there's no discussion of that. We're supposed to believe in these two, totally opposite themes. It's ridiculous. Get people to thinking. And ask them about, well, what do you suppose brought down that third tower in New York on 9/11? And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 of them are going to say, what tower? You say, well, the Solomon Brothers building. And they're going to say, what? And then you say, oh, well, you didn't know that another building fell down that afternoon. That's
just search Building 7.
Just go get it. Here's the whole thing. Everyone who's listening to this, you've got to take it on yourself. You can't just count on Alex to take care of everything. You can't count on me. You can't count on anybody. You can only count on yourself. And what do? You've got to wake your fellow citizens up. And I don't mean preaching to them, because that's not going to do any good. But start asking them questions and just get them to thinking, and just say, like, I mentioned, I think, in the last quarter, say, wait a minute, if we're supposed to country and dilute the population, get us all conflicted, fighting with each other so that they can push through their agendas.
That's the balkanization amended plan.
The balkanization of America, absolutely. So they don't want a secure border, and yet they want us all fearful of this international terrorist organization. So wait a minute, you can't have both. If the terrorist organization is real, then we need to secure the border. And if it's not real, then we can talk about loosening up the border. And by the way, the next time somebody tells you, well, I kind of like what Ron Paul says, but, he won't be elected and I don't want to waste my vote. You tell them, listen, jerk, if you'd actually vote for him, and then if all those people who said, well, I like what he says, but he's unelectable, would actually vote for him, he'd probably get elected.
Well, that's that mind game that we're going to say who you can vote for.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, and